A gunman has killed 6 people, an unborn baby and himself after he opened fire at a Jehovah's Witnesses hall in Hamburg on Thursday evening. The Entente Cordiale reborn. The British Prime Minister and French President meet in Paris as relations warm after years of Brexit-related tensions. A former member of the Jehovah's Witnesses Christian denomination has killed at least 6 people, an unborn baby and himself, in an attack at one of the religious group's meeting halls in Hamburg. Police were alerted to gunshots being fired at around 9:15 p.m. on Thursday at the 3-story building in Germany's second largest city.
Die Polizeibeamten, die dort reingegangen sind, haben dann auch Personen aufgefunden, die möglicherweise durch Schusswaffe schwer verletzt und teilweise auch tödlich verletzt worden sind. Die Beamten haben selber auch noch einen Schuss gehört aus dem oberen Teil des Objektes, sind nach oben gegangen, auch noch dort eine Person aufgefunden.
Police have identified the gunman as a German citizen and have ruled out a political motive. The man did have a weapons license and legally owned a semi-automatic pistol. Authorities made an unannounced visit to his home prior to the attack due to a tip-off that he was suffering from a psychological disorder and shouldn't be in possession of firearms. However, it's believed no further action was taken. France and the UK are once again speaking the same language, in diplomatic terms at least. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak arrived in Paris on Friday to meet French President Emmanuel Macron for the first Franco-British summit since 2018. Relations between the two nations had soured due to tensions over Brexit, but are now on the mend.
Je veux ici saluer le nouveau virage qui a été pris aussi et votre volonté de réengager avec l'Union européenne et vous féliciter pour le cadre de Windsor qui a été conclu avec la présidente von der Leyen. Alors, ce nouveau départ, nous voulons le poursuivre et le mettre à profit pour notre soutien à l'Ukraine. Nous partageons la même analyse et la même volonté. La Russie ne peut ni ne doit gagner cette guerre.
The leaders agreed on a host of issues, such as fighting illegal immigration, enhancing joint defence and aiding Ukraine.
When the security of our continent is threatened, we will always be at the forefront of its defence. And today we're going even further to strengthen our security and defence cooperation. We've agreed to train Ukrainian Marines, helping to give Ukraine a decisive advantage on the battlefield and for Ukraine to win this war.
Britain has also agreed to more than double its funding to France to help to stop people smuggling gangs operating in the English Channel.
Thank you, everyone.
However, the French president noted that a full agreement on the issue can only be negotiated with the EU.
Despite the devastation of the recent earthquake in the country's southeast, Turkey's president has set the date for forthcoming elections a month earlier than originally scheduled. President Erdogan said that the new date would avoid a calendar clash with the Hajj pilgrimage and state exams.
18 Haziran 2023 tarihinde yapılması gereken Cumhurbaşkanı ve milletvekili seçimlerinin 14 Mayıs'ta yenilenmesi kararını imzalamış bulunuyorum.
On Monday, the opposition nominated Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu as its candidate to challenge Erdogan, who has been in power since 2014. The presidential and parliamentary elections are seen as a potential turning point for the country, as the incumbent seeks to extend its authoritarian rule. Erdogan's popularity has suffered amid criticism of his government's response to last month's earthquake. Polls show his bloc running neck and neck with the opposition, with some giving his opponent a slight lead. Erdogan has conceded that mistakes were made in his administration's handling the disaster. China's President Xi Jinping has been sworn in for an unprecedented third term in power. With one fist raised and the other hand on the Chinese constitution, Xi promised to, quote, strive hard for the construction of a modern and powerful socialist country. Xi, who is 69, culminates on a rise that has made him the most powerful and long-lasting leader of the Asian giant in several generations. The vote was 2,952 to 0 by the National People's Congress, members of which are appointed by China's ruling party. The president was also unanimously named commander of the 2 million-member People's Liberation Army.
The pressure of 3 days of mass protests in Tbilisi has finally and comprehensively defeated the Georgian government's controversial foreign agents bill. On Friday, lawmakers voted to officially drop the draft law that would have forced media outlets and NGOs that receive 20% of their funding from abroad to register as foreign agents. In the streets of Georgia's capital, demonstrators welcomed the decision. Critics claim the bill would have stifled dissent, curtailed media freedom and ushered in Russia-style repression. The Kremlin has accused the so-called invisible hand of foreign powers of stirring anti-Russian sentiment in Georgia.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has condemned Russia's attacks on his country's power grid and has made it clear that Ukraine will not be in chains. These comments come after a series of deadly Russian missile strikes triggered a wave of electrical cuts, including at the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia.
Це критична ситуація. І Росія йде свідомо на створення таких критичних ситуацій на наших атомних об'єктах. Це просто вже за визначенням означає, що Росія не може бути сумлінним учасником будь-яких відносин в атомній сфері. А отже, чим швидше російська атомна галузь опиниться під санкціями, тим безпечніше буде світу. Не можна залишити державі-терористу жодної можливості використовувати будь-які атомні об'єкти будь-де у світі для терору.
The EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, said the attack at Zaporizhia is a serious breach of nuclear safety.
Zaporizhia is the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe, the biggest in Europe, and Russia is putting in danger the entirety of our joint European continent, Russia included.
Despite Russia redoubling their offensive, the Ukrainian government continues to send military reinforcement to Bakhmut, vowing not to let it fall. The main electricity supplies to the Stade de France and the construction site of the Olympic Village in Paris were cut off in a protest against the French government's pension reform. Several hundred CGT energy activists took over the station in Saint-Denis against the push to raise the pension age to 64.
C'est une action symbolique parce que depuis maintenant 2 mois et demi qu'il y a plus de 90% des travailleurs et plus de 70% des Français qui rejettent cette contre-réforme qui va mettre à genoux tout le peuple français. Le gouvernement refuse d'entendre, refuse d'appliquer la démocratie et la majorité du peuple. Une voix, une décision. Et donc aujourd'hui, nous, ce qu'on dit, c'est qu'ils sont en train d'œuvrer contre l'intérêt général des Français et du pays. Et donc nous, à notre modeste niveau, on essaye d'agir pour qu'effectivement les contraindre, effectivement à respecter la volonté du peuple.
Students had earlier blocked access to some universities as part of nationwide strikes. French President Emmanuel Macron claims the change is to keep the pension system financially stable as the population ages.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says her cabinet wants to establish a new law that would punish people smuggling by up to 30 years in prison. Meloni made the announcement in the town of Cutro near the beach where a migrant boat sank last month, killing at least 72 people.
Io penso che il modo migliore per onorare queste vittime sia fare quello che si può fare perché queste tragedie non abbiano a ripetersi. Allora noi abbiamo licenziato in questo Consiglio dei Ministri un decreto legge che affronta questa materia e lo abbiamo fatto per ribadire che noi siamo determinati a sconfiggere la tratta di esseri umani responsabile di questa tragedia.
On Sunday, local residents held a procession in honor of those who died. many of whom had fled Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran and Syria, hoping to join family members in Europe. The cabinet decree must be passed into law by Parliament, where Maloney's right-wing coalition holds a comfortable majority.
A group of 105 migrants rescued in the Mediterranean have arrived at the Italian port of Brindisi aboard an NGO life support ship. Among the migrants, there is a pregnant woman and 24 minors, the youngest just 2 years old. This rescue comes as disembarkations multiply in Italy. In the refugee centre on the island of Lampedusa, which has a capacity for only 300 people, there are currently more than 3,000 migrants crammed together. At the same time, 14 sub-Saharan migrants drowned Thursday in Tunisian waters. They were trying to flee a wave of attacks against sub-Saharan Africans unleashed in the Maghreb country following racist comments by President Kais Saied, who accused them of being part of changing the country's demographics via violence and crime. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called a shooting that seriously wounded 3 people in Tel Aviv on Thursday a quote-unquote terrorist attack. Israeli officials say the Palestinian gunman opened fire on a crowded street and was then shot and killed. It happened hours after 3 Palestinian militants were killed in an Israeli military raid in the occupied West Bank, according to police. The Islamist militant group Hamas says the 23-year-old perpetrator belongs to them.